Hello, everybody. I'm so excited to get started today. If you're tuning in, please make sure you go ahead and like and share this video. I'm going to make sure the sound is working well, but let us know that you're watching it in the comments below because I want to talk to you. Okay. I have so many guests that are on today that I'm super excited for you guys to meet. Again, make sure if you're watching this, that you are liking this video, that you are going ahead and sharing this video on your Facebook page, because that is important to me. I'm going to go ahead and share it too. Yes. So my name's Jasmine Stoker. This starting point is kind of my thing. I hear myself going in the background somewhere. Hold on. Not kind of my thing, it is my thing. Let me walk in confidence in that. And starting point is a virtual living room where we're going to be facing our fears. We're going to be talking about faith. Sometimes we talk about food. We talk about a lot of different things on this page. But what I really want to focus on is about overcoming those mental blocks that may stand in your way, right? I still hear myself in the background. Today, what we're going to be talking about is about friend zones in particular. And we're talking about friend zones because I shared with the guests before we got started is because, as you guys know, I am in therapy currently. And a lot of the things that we've been talking about with my therapist in therapy is friendships, right? He's been talking to me about the defense mechanisms that I have. He's been talking to me about how I build up walls to keep people out and a lot of different things. So over each session this week, we're going to be talking through different aspects of friendship. And today we're going to be talking about friend zones. We're talking about friend zones because I've been through a lot in my life. Not a whole lot, but a little bit. And I remember being in high school, and I feel like in high school, I was cool with my feelings, right? I think that I went through like that awkward phase where you're transitioning from middle school to high school, but I think after that, I was pretty cool. And then I got weird again in college. I got terrible again with my feelings when I got in college. I have been vulnerable with sharing my feelings with very few people in my life. And that's because I was afraid of the rejection of it. I didn't want that for my own life. And so in my adult life, that's been hindering, right? Because vulnerability is a big part of what it means to build friendships. And as an adult, I walk through into a lot of spaces and I use words like bro immediately when I'm talking to people. And I think that I built that as a defense mechanism for myself. And just because that's the culture that we live in. But I know that I've worked in church spaces for a long time where I go into rooms and I'm talking to men, and a lot of times they're married. And so rather than go in there and have weird energy in the room, I just go in and I lead with bro. I lead, whether you single, married, whatever it is, so that you don't have any expectations of me trying to come on to you. Like I just come in guarded. And while that is a good thing, and I don't think that I don't know, we're going to work through whether that's a good thing or a bad thing on this conversation. But I think that you should, in my mind, I don't know that I feel like friend zones exist, right? Because I feel like in every aspect, specifically in my life, I have had to treat other people as friends because I can be a daydreamer. I can put myself in relationships with people that I don't even know. Like I can be like, look, I saw him on this and me and him will live a good life together. And it'd be like, you don't even know that man. Like, chill out, girl. And so as a protection of myself, I end up putting people in friend zones immediately, or I think about people as friends and I don't even consider that people would be attracted to me until somebody makes a move. Like, and that's just been my life story. So everybody's in the friend zone to me. I feel like everybody is friends until you say that you don't want to be my friend no more. And then we can either move to not be friends at all, or we can move in another direction to be more than friends. But everybody's in the friend zone for me. So today we're going to be talking with my guest about friend zones, about vulnerability, about insecurity, about defense mechanisms that you may have, and everything in between. So as you're watching this, if you have questions about what it is that we're talking about, make sure you put that in the comments below. But I want the audience to answer this question and my guests to answer this question to introduce themselves. And the question is, what person do you feel the most comfortable around and why? And then tell them your name and what you do.
Okay. Hey guys, I am Brittany Laporte, and I am a resident director here at LeTourneau University. I actually work alongside Jasmine in our student development office. The person I'm the most comfortable with has to be my sister Lisa. We are a year and a half apart, and everyone assumed that we were twins growing up, and we basically act like twins. And I think she's the person I'm the most vulnerable with because we just grew up so close together during a time when I didn't understand like being vulnerable versus not being vulnerable. Like we just lived in hurt and laughter. She's also the funniest person I know, and she thinks I'm funny, which is very important to me. So yeah, it would have to be my sister Lisa.
I love it. Thank you, Brittany.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey everybody, my name is Quint. I'm a graphic designer here in Houston, Texas, Quint Charvis. I would say for me, I have two people that I'm comfortable with. As a guy and then as a girl. The guy is my friend RJ. He's my best friend. Talk to him anytime. Just cut up with him. Be silly. Talk about the word of God. Talk about anime. Talk about video games, food, sports. He has dreads too, so we talk about dreads. We just talk about everything under the sun. Relationships. He's single. I'm in a relationship, so we talk about that interaction back and forth, what he can expect out of a relationship and what it's like for him to be single, things of that nature. A lot of other things as well, church and all of that. And then for the woman, it's my girlfriend. If I can't be myself around her, just breathe, she's on the call with us, then I feel like I shouldn't be in a relationship at all. So even just last night, I'm on the phone with her singing, acting a fool. She's like, you know you can't sing, right? I'm like, yeah, I know. If somebody's gonna hear it, it's gonna be you. So those are the two people I feel like I could be comfortable with. Same thing with her. We talk about church, we talk about food, we talk about getting pancakes at 3 o'clock in the morning, like just all kinds of stuff. She likes what I like now, and I like what she likes now. And even though sometimes we both may not admit it, we do like to engage in activities with one another, and we could be ourselves around each other. So that's who I feel the most comfortable with.
That's a good little answer. That's a good little answer on the internet.
Aww.
Oh my gosh, that's hard to follow. Well, I'm Kayla. Kayla Lyons. I'm a digital news anchor at KLTV. The person that I would have to say I am most close with, if there was just one person, there are several, like I have my like tribe, but if there was one person, it has to be my cousin Teresa. Like we met at a time in our lives where like we were just kind of like figuring things out, and we realized how alike we were in several different areas. And like, you know, Quint said, she's a person that you can be spiritual with. We can be ratchet about things. We can be ghetto if we need to. Like, you're just really able to like be all forms of yourself. And there's no expectation when you come into a conversation other than, hey, if you need love, I'm here to give you love. I'm not here to judge you. Like, we can just be real and of course be candid with each other and also give each other that nice spiritual advice, because it's important to, you know, have spiritual rocks in your life. And so, yeah, I would say that's the person.
That's good. I would, if I was answering this question, I would say the same thing. That my sister and my cousin Daniel and Alicia Johnson and my mom. Okay, I'm not gonna start naming family members.
There's so many.
Right, everybody. You. But no. Hello, everyone. My name is Bree. I am a trauma researcher at UT Health here in East Texas, and I am currently a graduate student at UT Tyler. To answer the question, I would just go ahead and piggyback off my king over here to the right of me on the Zoom call. Yes, I feel most comfortable with him. Just basically what he said. Conversations are easy. We can laugh. We can sing. We can do random dances when we're together. We can act a fool, and it just all comes so easily. And I don't have to put on a front or dress up to make myself feel better around him. Like I don't feel judged or feel like I have to do more than what's necessary to love in our relationship. So it comes easy, and I'm blessed to have him and all that he comes with and all of his singing. And it's a beautiful thing, y'all.
Awesome.
Good. I'm so glad to have all of y'all on. I see that people are in the comments now. If you're watching this, please let us know that you're watching and say what's up to us in the comments so that I can shout you out. I see LaSabria is on. Hey, girl. And
Hey, let's say.
Pastor Love and Lady Love are on. Hello, how are y'all doing? I'm so excited to be able to get into this conversation. I think the first question to start with, because I am in graduate school as well, and so I like to lead with definitions. I think it's good for us all get on a level playing field about what it is that we're talking about. So what do you consider to even be a friend zone? Like maybe maybe answer that in two parts. Like what do you think that the culture says that a friend zone is, and how would you define a friend zone for the sake of this conversation?
Ooh.
That's tough. Coming out with some fire straight on up. For me, well, first off, I want to say shout out to Bree again. Shout out to Jasmine. Because through Bree, I found out that we're actually cousins, me and Jasmine, which is crazy.
Oh,
People in these streets. Okay, don't do that. I'm sorry.
I
forgot, yeah.
Funny because my brother, he went to SFA and he knew your sister, and they found out. But then I saw the last name Stoker. I have Stokers in my family, so
wow.
it was just crazy. But that was really cool. But to answer the question, I think that to what a friend zone is when somebody is attracted to somebody else, but like romantically, but then that other person isn't attracted back to them romantically. So then there kind of becomes these boundaries like, okay, like I see you in this way, but you see me in this way. So I like you as a friend. I like you as somebody I can vibe with, but just trying to make this relationship thing or this dating thing happen, we're not there. So for the other person, they have to be willing to accept that the other person isn't where they are romantically as far as trying to date one another. As far as media or what the world has to say, I think again, it's kind of the same thing. It's when there's not a mutual agreement between two people. And so they just kind of are forced into this friend zone / friendship where it's not going to get anything past first base. It's just going to be two people who are friends with one another. Y'all may talk, y'all may laugh with one another. You may hang out every once in a while with other friends or whatever, but it doesn't get anything past that.
Yeah. So I hear you saying attraction plays a big role in what puts you in the friend zone and what doesn't put you in the friend zone. Anybody else got anything to add?
I would say, I think, yeah, I'm not sure how to like define it on a professional term. So I think Quinn did a really good job, because thinking about it, like, I don't think I feel friend zoned by my like best friend, Whitney, because we're both, she's married. I'm not attracted to her, but I've also had some other male friends who like mutually, I don't think we were attracted to each other, but the idea of a friend zone never occurred. That I think it has to do with someone maybe not feeling I really like what you said, Quinn, about the mutual feelings. So I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Because why do I define myself in the friend zone with someone else, but have the same type of friendship with someone else, but I don't define them as a friend zone type of person? So
yeah,
that was interesting.
Yeah, that's well said. And just to add on to what they've already mentioned, I think culture kind of puts a bad play on friend zones. It's often seen as like a negative thing to be friend zoned by someone based on attraction or physical, attraction, or a number of things. But I think sometimes friend zones are necessary, especially when you're in a new relationship or in an ongoing relationship and you want to protect that space. And I think it's really up to the person that's being friend zoned if they, want to stick around or if they want to move to the side and keep it pushing. Yeah. Friend zones aren't the best space in our culture today.
Yeah. Especially because you can sometimes think that if you're in the friend zone, that means that like, I mentioned this to you guys before we even got on. It can have that negative connotation in the culture because sometimes if you're in the friend zone, it can feel like, well, something is wrong with me. And that's why I'm in the friend zone. Like they don't like me like I like them. And I just need to convince them. Like I just need to do something. I just need to wear my hair different. Like I just need to do something and look jazzy. And let me post this on Instagram. And maybe then like, let me put this in my stories and let me put it on the close friends version so that they can see it, because maybe then they'll think about getting me out of their close friend, out of their friend zone. And it's just like, why do we define, like, why are you putting so much power in the other people's hands? But I think that we'll get into that as we keep going into the conversation. Have any of y'all ever been put in a friend zone before?
I've done both. I've put people in the friend zone and I've been in the friend zone before.
Yes. Are you willing to share with us about it?
Yeah, I think, okay, this is gonna sound maybe weird, but I feel like I take a lot of pride in the friend group that I have from college. We're still best friends to this day. And in that group, there's actually probably like 6 males that we all just kind of grew up together. But then as we grew up, we all started to, come into our own. And then all of a sudden I'm like, Matt looks different this year than he did last year. So I feel like there's always, like, with my whole friend group, we've all somehow, some way, either like tried dating each other or like liked each other, but then someone didn't. But I would say that I had put about 3 guys in the friend zone from my friend group. And it wasn't always such a negative, bad thing. And then I was definitely in the friend zone with someone who I really had feelings for, who was one of my really close friends. We're not close friends to this day, nothing bad. But just because there's some realities of like that unreciprocated feeling that we kind of had to like walk away a little bit from, like, how much could we call each other best friends because it's starting to hurt me. And I was definitely in the friend zone for like 2 years with that situation. So yeah. So I know both sides of the coin.
Because I think that I lived a lot of my life in college and I was putting people in the friend zone and I didn't realize. And I think it came from like, I just was oblivious. Like I was just naive. Like and I wish that I could take y'all off the internet and have this conversation. But I just was like, and some of that is self-esteem, right? That I'm still working through. It's just like, I just didn't think people was attracted to me. But then too, it was just like, people wasn't showing no signs either. People be so guarded too. So I won't take all the blame. I think that it is some other people that put themselves in the friend zone that did tell me that they didn't want to be there. So you should have just been straightforward. Maybe you would have had different results. But then too, I think about, and even on the flip side of that is being in the friend zone and trying to get out. Like I posted something earlier today about something that I wrote about somebody that I did like, and that was during the college time, that I would feel like I was trapped in the friend zone, right? But even in that situation, I thought I was shooting shots. Like I thought I was communicating, like I wanted to get out the friend zone, like, hey, over here. And come to find out, they weren't picking up them signals either, or maybe they were picking them up and they just didn't want me to come out. I don't really know. And so I think that it's interesting to consider what we define and our own experience within the friend zone. Anybody else have an experience they want to share?
Yeah. So when I first grew out my hair or whatever, dreads were like up here. So I needed people to like retwist them or whatever. So there was this one girl who offered to retwist my hair. I was like, okay, cool, or whatever. So she didn't want me to pay her. She was like, no, like, you're good, this and that. Like, I don't want you to pay me. I'll do it for free. I'm feeling bad. I'm like, can I at least like take you out or whatever to get something to eat or something? She was like, yeah, that's fine or whatever. So cool, long story short, we go out to eat or whatever. And then she posted me on her Snapchat. It was like date night, this and that. And I saw it and I was like, oh, no, that's not what this is. And so we just kind of had to have like a conversation. I wasn't trying to be mean to her, but it was just one of those, like, we didn't discuss dating or a date night or this and that or anything that would involve that. And it was just kind of like me trying to be nice, but at the same time, I don't want to come off as me like throwing signs, or like you said, you were kind of showing signs, but they didn't really pick it up. And I didn't want to be the one who was trying to like send out these mixed signals and then for her to take it wrong. It was just me trying to be nice. And on the flip side of that, I like what Brittany said, just growing up with people and stuff. I grew up in a really big church, and everybody that I see from that church, like, we all have this connection, like, yo, like, that's my brother, that's my sister. So it's almost like a family zone, if that makes sense. Like, not necessarily friend zone, but family zone. So it's like, we just know, like, that's not even a boundary we even think about. It's just like, oh, that's family. And so I think there's like friends and then there's family. That's probably a whole other topic.
Yeah. That's so good though. And I think I appreciate the forwardness, even though you shot her down. And I appreciate the forwardness of the girl, right? And she was like, let me just put my cards on the table. This is what it is listen, we on the date. And you was like, no, we not. And then you have to be forward with her back. Like, I appreciate people that don't beat around the bush. They just like, listen, I like you. And you're like, no, but I don't like you, so that we can figure it out. The friend zone feels very like, and so I think that some of that forwardness I appreciate and I aspire to have, because that is showcasing vulnerability, right? But in our time, I know the vulnerability is something that I struggle with. And the vulnerability part of the friend zone of just showing your feelings. I won't say that you need to keep showing your feelings to the point that you get beat up, but I think that becoming an adult means that you express what it is that you want from somebody else, like that you lay your cards on the table. Do you feel like people, this isn't a question that I gave y'all ahead of time, but I'm gonna ask y'all, and then if you don't want to answer it, don't answer it. But do you feel like people struggle with that in 2021, like with laying their cards on the table, with the vulnerability portion of it, and why do you feel like they do?
I'm gonna answer that. I don't think putting your cards out there is the problem. Like shooting your shot, sliding the DMs, going through a friend to speak to the person that you're interested in is a problem. I think people have a hard time really being vulnerable and transparent about their intentions. Because often you see it for a man, they may see a girl that they like or find attractive, and they got one thing on their mind and they slide in the DMs trying to see if they can get the mission accomplished. But to come to find out, like, this girl's actually might be feeling him, or things kind of played out differently in her head, and then they get to this stage where they're like, okay, where she's like, okay, what are we doing? And he's just like, nah, I just needed you for that one thing. And it can be vice versa as well. Women have a tendency sometimes to do that as well. And so I don't think shooting your shot and being bold is the issue. I think being transparent and courageous in that space is hard in 2021.
I like it. Brittany, you're nodding your head. You have something to add?
Oh, I was like, yeah, that was really good. I would probably answer this question more from a female or like my own experience and being on like I know for sure for me, like I have such a hard time being super honest about my real feelings. And sometimes it's even hard for me to identify my real feelings too. Like I'm like, am I feeling this? What am I feeling? I don't really know. And so because of that confusion, and then once I do know, I'm like, well, how do I communicate this? Because I think rejection is such a huge, high risk, high reward, but the rejection piece is really painful, and a lot of times it's like some of people's biggest trauma is their biggest rejection, and you don't know what that's going to be. So I would say for me on my end, like having to be vulnerable with my feelings is for sure like a difficult thing to be authentic about. I don't know where I feel where people are at in 2021, because part of me feels so old school that I'm trying to keep up with like, there was no sliding in the DMs in my day, or like the relationship I had, there was none of that. But I see it so much with our students. So but I think Bree is super correct. Like, I think that they're bold. I think they're brave. But I think their intentions is where it's getting kind of gray.
Yeah, that's good. I think that there was sliding in the DM when I was younger, but I think that it wasn't in that context, right? It was like MySpace. Like, who's your top 5 friends?
Yeah.
He in your top 5? Like, no, it ain't even like that. I was just, did he see it though? But I was just trying.
Did he like it? Yeah.
But I think that it was just a different kind of like internet sort of thing. And that leads me to the question of, do you think that, and we're very heavily female on here, so if you're a guy and you're watching, let us know in the comments too. Do you think that that both sexes equally put people in the friend zones?
Well, I want to say this, and I'm gonna answer that too. But I think that ultimately, like, the guy should be pursuing the woman no matter what. And I think like that's where those boundaries and things come into play, whether it's from the woman or from the guy. The reason why I say that is because, like, for an example, you mentioned that you kind of were showing signs of interest to somebody else, whether he picked up on it or not, that was on him. And so I want to kind of go to the Bible for a second when it talks about Ruth and Boaz. And we know that Ruth showed signs to Boaz, but Boaz was the one who initiated. He's the one who invited her over to come eat the bread and drink the wine or whatever. And he ended up marrying her. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with a woman expressing interest, but I think it should be the guy who's shooting the shot. It should be the guy who's initiating. It should be the guy who's trying to make something happen, whereas the woman just kind of shows that expression that's there. As far as the friend zones can both can male and female do it equally? I believe yes, because the friend zone at the end of the day is the friend zone. But I think there may be different methods as to why a man may do what he does versus a woman does what she does. Like a woman may put somebody in the friend zone based off of his personality. She might think he's attractive or this and that, but that won't matter to him. If his personality's messed up, she'll just be like, nah, that's all right. You gonna be my friend. But for a dude, he may look at it and be like, man, she about a 5 or 4. Like, I don't, I'm not gonna try to date her. He's gonna put her in that friend zone. Like, that's how most dudes think. That's how most women, I believe, think. And so again, I think the friend zone category is equal, but the methods are different.
Mm.
Let me ask you a question then. What is the line between a woman showing her interest for a guy and her taking the lead in pursuing that man?
Mm.
So I think if the guy is trying to be consistent and he sees her willing to accept going out on dates or hanging out or spending time together, then he should be more heavily, he should be heavy in his pursuit towards her, because obviously she's giving him that time of day, she's giving him that time of attention. So if she was just kind of brushing him off, like, oh, I'll think about it, or like, nah, that's all right, or something, then it's, at that point, like, I feel like he shouldn't keep wasting time in that. But again, if she's like, okay, yeah, I'm down, I think there's a sort of interest that's there.
Oh, so I'm sorry, Jazz. I'm just wondering. I'm just picking
Go
his
ahead.
brain. So she can't like say like, hey, can we go out to eat? Or like,
I think she could say that, yeah. I think, I think she can express how she feels. She may, I, I don't think she should be trying to shoot her shot at him, but I think she can definitely initiate certain things as well. I don't think she should be like, hey, I want to date you, like type of thing, but she can say, I would like to go out to eat with you, or I want to spend time with you, or this and that. I think that's totally okay.
so I want to spend time with you.
Okay.
Hey, let's go.
A part of me feels like I agree with you. I think that I just agree with you to a different degree, right? I think that I agree that I would like to be pursued. That's something that I would like. I feel like it's okay for girls to even say to the point, like, I would like to date you. I don't think that it's okay for girls to be chasing after dudes. Like, I don't think that it's okay. And I don't think that it's fair for guys to chase without reciprocated interest either, right? But then for anybody to just be chasing after anybody and to be constantly putting their feelings on the line, and for people to be like stringing them along for the sake of that. I think that whether you're a male or a female, that in any situation, that's not okay. But I also feel like that there is a space for you to say, hey, I'm attracted to you, especially if you're in a friendship with somebody where you feel like they put you in the friend zone and you know that you're attracted to them and you know that you feel like they're stringing your emotions along. Like, hey, I'm attracted to you. Do you like me or do you not like me? Because we need to figure out if I need to keep putting myself in this situation or not. Right? Not that it is we need to figure out if we need to date or not, but tell me what this is so that I can be honest with myself and I can figure out whether I need to continue talking to somebody else or not. Because somebody even put in the comments, they were saying it can be a protection for the relationship, because sometimes people use friend zones to string people along for the emotional benefit, right? And I've heard people say stuff like they have a roster. And so on that roster is like, I'm gonna just keep these people around just in case something go left with my person that I'm talking to, so that I have somebody else to fall back on. And when you're in a friend zone like that, I think that it's fair to be like, you know what? I like you. So either we gonna do something or you gonna take me off this list. Like, let's just figure this. Let's just say, let my yeses be yeses and my no's be no's, right?
Yeah.
And so do you think, is there a point? Well, I guess we just talked about that, but I guess we can expound on it. Do you think that there ever comes a point where you're in the friend zone? Let me skip that question. I'm gonna go to my other question. Do you think that being in the friend zone accidentally is possible? And if you are in a friend zone on accident, like you came in with interest and you got put there and you didn't really know, like you was like, oh, this is okay, this is where I am. How should you proceed? Like, what encouragement would you give to a guy or a girl who's in that situation where they're interested in this person, but they don't really know what that person is feeling and what to do with their interest?
I mean, like, I don't think that it's a bad thing to be forward in that way. I mean, I think that when you're forward with people, and kind of going back to what you said, I think sometimes we put people in the friend zone because of our own insecurities. Like, we're like, okay, I don't know if I can get anything better than this, so I'm gonna put you in the friend zone. That way, if I look around and I don't find nothing, I can settle for you sometimes. Not always the case, but sometimes that's the case. So, with that being said, I think that if somebody, is in that friend zone accidentally, I think being forward and just saying, hey, these are my intentions. And I've been there before, like, where I thought it was something and like I could feel like he was trying to keep me in the friend zone. And so I was just like, hey, what are we doing here? Is this going anywhere? If not, that's cool, but I'm gonna have to dip. And of course, like, it's not fun being forward, but just asking those questions, like, is this going anywhere? Like, do you see this as something that, you would want to pursue further? I'm not pressuring anything, but I just want to get, a heads up and an idea of what we are doing. That way, nobody has, a skewed view of what this is. I think that it's okay to be forward in that situation, especially when we're grown and we really don't have time to waste anymore. Like, all of that kitty dating is like, okay, that's cool. We don't have to know what we're doing back when we're immature, but we're mature now. We should be able to come to terms with some hard questions.
Yeah. So, and that leads me to, how has friend zones changed? Like, since from high school to college to the ages that we are now, how has friend zones changed for you, or have they changed? Because I think I think I would agree, Kayla, that yes, mine has changed in that way. That it's just like, I'm 28. Like, I got friends. Like, I got friends. And I'm willing to make more friends, but let's be frank about what this is. Let's not teeter-totter onto this stuff. Like, answers, please.
I would definitely say that, I mean, this is to encourage if there's any like young people in their early 20s watching, like, it gets easier. Like, because when you're more confident in yourself, you're more understanding and you're more self-aware. And so you can stick up for yourself a lot more when you're older. When you're young, you're like, oh my gosh, what if I come on too strong? What if he rejects me? What if I'm like embarrassed? There's all these things that go through your head. But when you get older, I don't know, there's just something that really just kind of clicks when you hit your upper 20s and you're like, first off, if I'm hanging out with a lot of time with a guy, homeboy has to be interested, okay? Number one. So you just get real practical. And then if he's not, you begin to realize, like, it's just not for me. It doesn't have to be a huge name on my identity. It doesn't have to be a huge name on like, oh, I'm unlovable. It's just, he's not the right person. And I personally just believe, getting spiritual, like, I don't believe God withholds our best for us, but I believe that he directs us towards it. And sometimes that looks like the door getting shut. So when but I didn't have that perspective when I was young. I was like psycho and crazy and wild. So I didn't know how to think that way. But I would say, I would encourage you guys, like, trust me, it gets easier because you become so much more connected to yourself. So if you're willing to put in the work to do that piece first, the rest kind of falls into a lot more of a grounding and practical way of really how you view yourself in the whole friend zone. And you don't lose sleep over it.
That's good. Mm. That's good.
And that just plays back in. Oh no, I said that just plays in being confident in what you bring to the table. Like, if you are not confident in what you bring to the table, and we all go through phases of that, and I think that there's always a fluctuating level of confidence, whether it be in one area or the other. Like, nobody just gets to the pinnacle point to where it's like, I don't have anything that I am just super insecure about. I'm great. Like, I think that we all balance that. But there is a level, like you said, Brittany, where you are confident in at least what you have to offer and the value you offer people and the type of love that you want to give people. And not everybody can have access to that. And so when you're confident in that, then you're like, okay, hang on, you're not deserving of that love. If maybe, you're a cool friend, okay, we can be friends. But I mean, you don't get that access.
Yeah.
I think communication and self-awareness has definitely been what helped me to shift my view of friend zones. And because I remember being in college and I remember being put in a friend zone. I remember thinking, especially because I was in predominantly white spaces, right? I remember thinking that, oh my God, like something is wrong with me. Like I don't fit into whatever this is that I'm fitting in. And I won't say that I've been attracted to a whole bunch of white boys in my life, but I will say that there have been white boys that I have been attracted to that I was like, I will never be fit for this person because of these reasons. And so, but as I've gotten older, I just been like, no, like it wasn't that something was wrong with you. Like you have to learn who you are and accepting. And I won't say that I've arrived at that, right? That's why we're having this whole conversation. That's why I'm fighting with my therapist every Thursday about this, because there are still those insecurities that you struggle with, but it's learning like, what do I find valuable about myself? So if nobody else ever tells me that, I am affirmed in who I am. Like how does God, my sister always tells me, like, I pray that you see yourself the way that God sees you. Because when you can see yourself the way that God sees you, whether you're in the friend zone or not, that doesn't shift how you view yourself. And that is what feels like is something that's super important. And then communication too, which what we've been talking about, like communicating like where your feelings are, all of that, it feels important. Let me go back to the comments, but does anybody else have anything to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to add one other thing to that. Like again, just being yourself and all of that. I think, people, if they really take interest in you, they'll accept who you are. Like you shouldn't have to adjust who you are. You shouldn't have to put on this front for somebody just for them to accept you. Like if I can't sing to my girlfriend with a bad voice, she's just like, yeah, like if I can't be me around her, then like what's the point? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, yeah, if you're having to have all of these second thoughts or guesses about this person, like all of these what ifs, then yeah, it shouldn't take all of that.
Yeah. Because it's not a relationship that you would want to be in anyway. If you're constantly having to ask yourself, like, what are they going to think? How they going to, I don't know. I mean, that's cute for a minute, but eventually you got to figure out like how to exist. Lisa is in a comment. She said, it's the esteem of yourself. That's what Cat Williams said too. So it's self-esteem. It's the esteem of yourself. So get it for you, right? I have another question. And Lisa said, from a female perspective, when a guy is sincere in wanting you, he makes it clear. I think so. And a part of me in my younger years, Kayla, your head nodded. What you think when I said it?
I mean, it's true. I mean, you know what? I ain't even gonna lie. I'm out my boy, okay? Like for a long time, my boyfriend pursued me for 7 years and I consistently put him in the friend zone. Like, and he was fine with that. He was like, you know what? He told me one day, he was like, we gonna be together. But if you want to be in the friend zone, that's cool. That's cool. And so we were in the friend zone, and every year, like clockwork, he would try to come out and I'd be like, and get back in there. And he was cool with that. But like he always like showed interest. Like it was always something that he did to just, hey, I'm just putting this bug in your ear. You would make a good girlfriend. And like, you know what I mean? He would just always put this in my ear. And I think that it definitely shows. And like, especially with ladies, like the men who really actively see you beyond just your outer appearance, but they value everything about you. Like men will definitely pursue you. And especially if it is somebody that, is if they see like you are worth fighting for, and he is like, sure about that he wants to even take that on, he'll do it for quite some time. Now, I'm not saying that 7 years is inadequate. I'm not saying that because that's absolutely asinine. I wouldn't have done that, but I'm just saying I definitely agree with that. I've seen that.
Yeah. So what's the difference between pursuit and committing to your interests, using the word Bree used earlier? Like, what's the difference between that? What is the difference between like unclear intentions and pursuit? Like, how do you tell whether somebody is pursuing you or whether somebody is stringing you along to be in the friend zone?
I got that one. Someone stringing you along, the communication is inconsistent. Their emotions fluctuate between, oh, like, you cute girl, to not really, responding to messages or not really showing much interest in you. You just feel it's just very off-putting. You often feel like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's lost for those that have been in that situation. And then when someone's consistently pursuing you, I'll take my boyfriend, for example, like, everything is intentional. Everything is done strategically. Everything is structured. Everything makes you question, like, dang, like, I'm deserving of this, like, all this, like, you feel set apart from all the other people that you would assume they pursue. Like, you just feel respected, honored, loved, like, all of those things. And
let me play
it's
both
a
sides
magical thing.
though, because what if he not like you? What if he's shy? What if he just, I don't know. What if that's him?
I think Q is shy. And he's still,
Yeah, I'll say I'm a pretty shy person. Not always, but I think even if you are shy, even if you
you gonna
don't,
do it.
yeah, exactly. If you don't quite know how to express yourself, like sometimes I can't express myself with words. Like I'm just bad at it, but I'll express myself through something else, like a gift
Actions.
or or actions, like she says, or like a surprise, like something like it's not always words, it's not always the characteristic of the person, but it's the thoughtfulness in the things that they're doing to show you that there's pursuit there. So I think sometimes when it comes to that, like you'll see it, you'll be like, dang, like this person really did that for me, or they went out of their way to do this. It's like it's like she said, there's like this feeling, like this connection in the sense where it's like, and then it'll come to the point where you talk about that, like, so are you trying to pursue me or not? Like, are we something or not? Are we friends? Or are we more than that? I think when all of that stuff kind of just starts to build up and you start to understand one another, then you can have those conversations just to be sure, like affirming somebody or making sure that things are clear. Because again, like I said, I never want to be put in a position where I'm leading somebody on or vice versa, they're leading me on. And so we had that conversation with me. She was like, what are we? And I was like, okay, like we can have this conversation. And I was able to explain to her, like, this is what we are, this is what I want, this is where I want to get to. I didn't know how to exactly say it at the time,
You
but
said it.
my actions, like, through the experiences that we had, it came out as we went on.
Yeah. They're in the comments agreeing with you, Q. They said shy don't matter. They said when you want somebody, you let it be known. Somebody else said being shy does not matter. And I asked that question because I think that sometimes we can play that in our head, right? Because we are trying to build a story that we like. We're not really trying to play into what everybody else is talking about. Like, even when your friends are like, you wasted your time. Like, you're like, no, but he did this, but remember this, but he just don't know how to talk to people. That's what it is. He just, this is, he's getting ready. He's just not ready yet. But I see this in him and I see this in him. And I prayed and the Lord told me that I was going to be, and it's just like, and I struggle with Christian people. I'm coming to talk to you for a second, okay? I struggle with, I understand praying. I understand hearing from God and moving as you hear from God. I think that sometimes we can weaponize the term, the Lord told me, in order to, what we're really telling people is, shut up. That's what we're really telling people, is we can say, the Lord told me that he is the one. And you looking and you like, no, like the Lord told me that you my wife. The Lord didn't listen. If he told you, he was going to tell me. And if he ain't told me, then we need to have a discussion about what Lord it is that you were talking to, because I don't know. Like, I think sometimes we play into that and it's very Christianese. And it is, I've been praying and the Lord revealed, and I'm not arguing, because that's one of the phrases you can't argue with. Like, it's your relationship with God. If the Lord revealed that to you, then I pray that that comes to pass. But I think that we have to be careful when we use those words, that we're not using it to trick somebody into something, rather than using it to just be like, why don't you just say, this is what I feel. This is what I'm thinking. And if the Lord reveals it to you, then it will be confirmed. Let's just be careful with, I'm going to say that.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, people don't want to be led on. People want to make sure there's no time being wasted. People want to make sure there's no excuses. So, like somebody being shy, like, okay, well, is he going to eventually talk to me? Like, are we eventually going to have this conversation? Like, is there going to be progression? Like, all of those things. Like, we can fear what we don't know. So if we're sitting here questioning this person or their thoughts or their actions and feelings, then that puts us in an uncomfortable position because then we're like, well, I really don't know what we are. Like, should I start asking questions? Should I start being more persistent? Should I start, being more aggressive? Whatever the case may be. And sometimes, just different personalities. Bree is a more aggressive type of woman. I'm a more laid back type of man. So we balance out in certain areas because where she may be unsure, she'll just come out and ask me. I'm like, oh, all right, bet. So then I can answer it. And then it's kind of like, vice versa. Like where things are too aggressive in a sense, I could kind of bring it back and lower it back, just try to give her an understanding of why I'm thinking or feeling the way that I am. So that way she understands that her time isn't being wasted. So again, I think just with everything that we want as individuals, sometimes we can get caught up in the unknown of not knowing where this exact relationship is going, or if it's only a friendship or whatever. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to add to that, like I said, ladies, for those of you that are single and currently like in that space of friend zoning or trying to figure out, where your man is, whatever, you will know when a man wants you because of his actions. And as Q mentioned, words may not be his best thing, but he will put some pep in his step, and he will make sure you know that you are everything that he wants to be with. And he mentioned that I asked him, like, what are we doing? Like, what is this? I knew what we were doing because he was popping up on me, pulling up randomly, sending gifts at random moments, sending nice messages and all these different things. I think I just wanted to hear him say it. But in the end, what I saw was he is a man behind his word, and everything that he's ever shared with me that was vulnerable, or every action that he's done, he's shown like this is something I'm going to continue to do for the rest of our life together, So you'll never have to question if you're pursued or desired or not.
Let's play flip side of that, right? Then how does, because I think that sometimes we can put a lot of emphasis on the guy's pursuit, and I think as we should talk about that. How can a girl or a woman show like a firm interest that's not taking advantage of the male?
What about like giving a compliment, like, "Oh, you look really handsome today," or say if they're an athlete or they're part of some organization. "Oh, I saw your event. Like you did an amazing job. Like, how are you pulling that off?" Something like that.
Yeah,
I think
that's good.
And I think the man will kind of sort of sense that as well. If he's spending time pursuing the woman, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, like it's just like, like, okay, like, was that real, or were you just taking advantage of me type of situation? So as the man, we would hope like the woman would be real enough to be like, look, I appreciate you spending time with me, doing this, doing that, whatever. And vice versa, she may even do nice things for him. But ultimately, if she's not really feeling him that way, you would just hope that she would at least communicate that with him. Like, look, I appreciate all that you're doing, but I don't want to, continue to pursue with this. And cool, that lets us know, like, all right, well, I was trying to pursue you and you didn't lead me on. But there have been, like, I've been in a situation like that where I've been led on to where I'm doing nice things for somebody, I'm trying to spend time with them, and they just soaked it up like a sponge. At the end of the day, I was just kind of back at square one, where I was like, dang, like you could have told me that. Like, what's up? So yeah, I would like to hear that question, like from the woman's perspective, like how do you make sure you're not wasting the man's time in that moment?
I'll answer this question from a more like maybe like a long-term friend that someone may have like in their friend group, or maybe you've been spending a lot of time with someone and you're still confused. I actually just got out of I got out of a relationship with somebody who actually was a shy guy. So I affirm everyone, like just because he's shy does not mean he will not make his feelings known, because I think there's a lot of value in like simplicity, but intentional. Like you can be simple about things but still communicated genuine intention. But we were hanging out for a very long, I would say a good like 6 to like 8 months alone, a lot. But like he was very shy. He was more the withdrawn type of guy. And I'm like, I'll talk to anything and everyone. And I was like, this boy is like there's like no physical moves. He's never like told me I was cute. And I'm a words of affirmation. So it's like, I got to hear all the things at all times. And I'm a hype girl too. So I'm like, dude, he's like nothing. And it was actually the day that he told me where he was at that I was about to express to him, like, hey, I'm not sure where this is going, but I just think like a simple conversation. And I think a lot of times that we tend to overcomplicate it, like, let me dive my big heart and like really just make this an intense conversation. But for me, it was just like, hey, we've been spending a lot of time together and I'm just curious, where's this going? Are we friends? Because if so, like I can navigate that. But if not, like I maybe have to redirect. But how he did it with me was so simple but intentional. And he was like, hey, so obviously we've been spending a lot of time together and I've really enjoyed getting to know you and becoming friends and we've gotten so close. But I am interested in like seeing if there's potential to maybe date. And if you're interested, like I would love that. That would be super exciting. And if you're not, like, I may need a little bit of time, but I would still like to be your friend. And I was like, that was so simple. And because I think a lot of times we over dramatize it, like how Jasmine said, we have a story, we have the daydream, and we like the like, ooh, the big. So whether you are giving your true feelings to somebody, or maybe you're receiving, however it is, whether you're the girl or the guy doing it, I think there's a lot of value in just being simple and saying like, hey, we've been spending time together. Where is this going? Or just like, hey, I've noticed maybe you've been, I don't know, flirting with me a little bit more. I've noticed that maybe you've been, texting me a little more than usual. Maybe it's in my head, but I'm just curious. It's like, it's that simple. It doesn't have to be like, so, oh my God, I hope that you really love me back because I've been really thinking about you night and day, So I think there's a lot of value in simplicity, but intentionality.
Yeah.
Another thing real quick, I can appreciate Brittany as well as Bree because they both use the words affirmation. And us guys, we do like that. Like we do like to know that what we're doing is being affirmed. Like if I did something for Bree, she would affirm that, and I'll be like, bet, like I'm gonna keep going then, like. So yeah, I appreciate that. I think that helps us guys.
Yeah, because I think that there is wisdom, right, that needs to be used in engaging with people's feelings and bearing your heart and the intimacy that would come with a relationship with people. And that means that you don't go in and like, I say lay all your cards on the table. Like you don't go in and be like, I just had 17 dreams about you for the last that's not creepy. Like let's just be, you don't have to go in and tell your whole life story. Sometimes you can just go in and be like, listen, I like you. I think that the Q used the word progression earlier. And I really like that word, that there is a progression of exchange, right? There should be a progression of people that are showing their feelings to you and a progression of how you decide to reciprocate those feelings back that builds in a relationship. And somebody put in the comments that it's not a rom-com. I think sometimes we can get caught up in that whirlwind of like, I'm just going to turn around and in 3 days, we're going to be together. And like, or like a brown sugar moment, like you're going to hear him on the radio and you can be like, I'm going to come. And, like, it's like, no, like maybe I'm not going to say what the Lord won't do. Maybe that will be your story. Also, maybe not. And being okay with that. And so I think we're rounding out about to be 8:00. So if you have questions, go ahead and put them in the comments. But I'm going to ask you guys this final question as we wait for them. And I would like for everybody to answer if that's okay. And that is, how would you encourage somebody to take their power back if they're in a friend zone and they're feeling like whatever they're feeling in that, if that's insecure, if that's scared, if that is like nobody will ever, like, how would you encourage somebody to take their power back and feels like they've lost power by being in the friend zone?
I would say in order to take your power back, you have to do what you're expecting other people to do. If you're expecting to be loved, you need to activities that demonstrate that you love yourself. For instance, taking yourself out to the movies, going out to eat by yourself, it may feel weird at first, but it's something that's necessary, because you're letting yourself know I can romanticize myself. And when I get into this relationship that I want, I will expect the same, if not more. Positive affirmations every day, you know, I am worthy, I am loved, I am honored, I am deserving of whatever, you know, things like that. And then if for the Christians out there, praying about it is definitely something that you can use as a strategy. Like the Lord knows the desires of our hearts. And if you're intentionally delighting in him, then he will grant those desires. So yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Kind of piggyback off of Bree. Yeah, you know, just treat yourself. I always tell guys, embrace your singleness. You know, if you're in your own space, if you're able to move at your own leisure, you know, embrace that. You know, find out who you are. Find out what makes you upset. Find out what makes you happy. Find out the things that you like. Find out the things you don't like. Like, utilize you to the best of your ability. Learn you. Like, figure out, you know, what brings you peace and joy and all of these things, and figure out what you like to do. Once you're able to put yourself in this space of you being comfortable by yourself, you shouldn't always have to feel like you have to go and run out and be in a relationship, or you can't feel alone. Like, you should be able to have some sort of peace with yourself, because at that point, if you don't even have that peace with yourself, you can carry all that baggage into a relationship. So I think, you know, that's how you get your power back, is by simply understanding who you are, what you enjoy, what you don't, and then move on from there.
Yeah, that's good.
I would say, and maybe this applies to just how someone would take rejection from anything, whether it's like you feel rejected because you were in the friend zone, or you got broken up with, or even from a job, whatever that is. I'm such a choice person, where I firmly believe that so much of our perspective comes down to choice. A lot of times when people say, you're such a positive person, it's like, I'm not born that way. I actually have a lot of circumstances that could allow me to be negative, but I make a choice on how I want to see things. And I think for me, what has helped me and healed me in some ways too, is I've chosen to look at rejection as an opportunity to grow in resilience and perseverance and strength, because we don't grow just with everything being like this, right? We grow when we're always met with adversity. And sometimes your adversity is going to be, maybe you're rejected, or you feel maybe lonely because you're in the friend zone or unworthy. But I would just reframe those thoughts. I like what Bree said about like self-affirming, like you're telling yourself who you are every day more often than you realize. And like, if you're saying like, I'll never get out of the friend zone, I'll never be this, then all of a sudden your perspective becomes that. It becomes garbage. It becomes whatever it is. But if you choose to see it as like, listen, I have a lot to offer, and I know that because I gave my heart in this situation. However, it was just misdirected. And again, like I said earlier, like I just believe that when a door is shut on us, it's because God's saying like, this is not it. And if you trust me, the best is ahead. If you're going to choose to respond to this action with the choice to persevere and to learn and to develop, versus to let it become a negative stain on like your identity or who you are. So I think if you're in that friend zone and whatever that is, and if it's hurting you, just look at it as like, God is not doing this to you because he's like, I just love to see you in that friend zone, homegirl, and I just want you to feel like crap. It's because whether it's the wrong person or it's the right person but wrong time, no matter what, like he's withholding that because it's not good. But you can't devalue yourself in the process, or else you're never going to be able to see someone good enough for you. Because if you think that you're trash, then you're going to attract trash. Sorry.
Come on, Brittany.
That was good.
I mean, literally, I echo some of the same things that Brittany said. I think that just knowing and not allowing yourself, like being okay with knowing that like mine is coming, or like, you know, if something is beneficial to me and I'm like okay with how it's treating me and it is positively lifting me up and it's edifying me, then okay, this is good. But if it's not, being okay with saying no to protect yourself, like falling in love with yourself and seeing yourself in such a way, like how God sees you, that it's like, you know what, I'm not going to take what's less than the best. And it can be hard and intimidating because like you said, like Brittany said, you know, you don't know what is on the other side. You don't know if there is, going to be a guy to come tomorrow or the next day or the next, but you do know that, as long as you are walking with God, that he said literally there's somebody for everybody. And so just knowing that I don't have to stay in something that is not elevating me because I don't feel confident enough in myself in order to, be able to let that go and move forward. And so really falling in love with your insecurities as well, like every single part of you. Like it's one thing to like love on your good things. It's another thing to like come to terms with, okay, some of the not so perfect sides of myself. What are some of those things that I wish I could hide, but the person that is going to love me and that I'm going to spend the rest of my life with, I want to be all of myself. So like I have to at least be okay with sharing them and being naked in front of myself as well. Like we have to fall in love with all of ourselves and be okay with waiting and not just accepting the bare minimum because we don't think, oh, okay, God gonna give me something better, because he will, but he can't if you settle it.
Yeah.
Come on, somebody. Because I heard somebody say earlier today, they were like, that God will never put, they were talking about Married at First Sight, right? I don't know if anybody here watches that show.
Love that show.
They were talking about how one of the girls on there is talking about, God, I'm just accepting this because this is where God put me, and God will never put more on me than I can bear. And just like, but darling, did God put that on you? Or did you put yourself into that situation? Like, did God tell you to go that way, or did you go that way and then say, God, cover me? Like, let's just make sure that what the situations that we're going in, that it is God that is covering us, that it is God that is guiding us, right? And I'm happy that we can have that conversation openly here. So yeah, I think that, and this is something that I'm struggling through, y'all. So I don't come on. That's why I got these experts to come on here and share with us their opinions on this, because I am struggling through what it looks like to accept yourself. I am struggling through what it looks like to value yourself and to love yourself enough to not feel like you're not deserving of other things. And so if there is anything that I can encourage you as I struggle through that with you, is that to learn to not put your value so much in what other people think of you, right? Because I think that's where we can fall off in friend zones, is we can get in that friend zone and we can feel like, okay, if they're not affirming me, then will anybody ever affirm me? That's what is wrong with me. And this is why I am in this position. And I think that if we, again, like Brittany and everybody on this call has said, that if that's our perception of ourselves, then how do we expect anybody else to get us out of that? Like, you have to love yourself. You have to define yourself as God defines you, not as any other person defines you, not as you define yourself. Like, I encourage you to go to the scriptures, figure out what God is saying about you and apply that to your life, right? That's the reality that you set. That sometimes the reality that's in front of us, that let's not make that, like, the Bible is the truth. To me, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So the Bible is the truth to me. And so if I'm looking to the scripture to define me, then I am not allowing somebody else putting me in the friend zone to break me apart, for me to fall apart. And so, yeah, I just encourage you to find value where there is value. And I love y'all. And I'm so glad. Leisha, I'm going to close with this. Leisha said, remember that you have a choice, just like they had the choice. Don't let someone else dictate whether you're in a relationship. You decide to, right? You train people how to treat you. You choose your friends. You don't just let your friends choose you. You choose the relationships that you're in. You don't just let those relationships choose you. And so, yeah, I'm going to shut up because it's 8:04. And I love y'all. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to my guests for joining us today.
Thank you for having us.
I
said thank you for having us.
Yes.
Awesome.
Last thing is there anywhere that they can find you? Where should they be looking for you at? Anything that you would like to plug at this point?
I'm only on Instagram at BRE.encouraged. That's where you can find me.
I'm not active on social media these days, but you can find me on Instagram at Emmanuel_23 and Quint Charvis, my name on the box, on Facebook. So that's where I'm at.
He's taken, and you will be put in the friend zone. Just know.
Awesome. I only have an Instagram too, and I'm just under Brittany Rose Laporte. You'll see a lot of boring things on my stories, and probably lots of posts of my job and my family and friends.
And I'm an Instagrammer as well. I have Facebook, but I really use Facebook to browse, not to post. So the underscore Kayla Lyons is where you can find me on Instagram.
All right. Thank y'all so much. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.